Hi, Rich.
Hello. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
Did I get the wrong phone number again?
Yeah, you called the cell, and the cell is in a completely other room, and I was still asleep, so
Okay, well,
it wouldn't have worked out too well anyway.
Well, I sort of understood that part of the equation, and I've messed that up before. Let me say this. It will never happen again because I think I'm going to bury the other number. I'm going to list it correctly.
Yeah. Okay.
It's happened before, and I haven't taken the necessary action, obviously, because it happened again. The plus on it gave me a good chance to practice patience, and that worked well. And
okay.
Yeah, and it's interesting. My issues here are anger. Always have been, and always probably will be till they actually dissolve or go away. It does give me a certain amount of passion in the heat of the moment, which has probably saved my life a few times too. So, but I sort of it's become underscored recently. But the beauty of it is, last night my wife and I watched Sandy East Coast, and I watched a movie called Ragamuffin. And Ragamuffin is about a very gifted Christian artist who was brought up by a father that didn't know how to love. And it was pretty classic because he died early. He spent 42 years of his life dealing with that issue with alcohol, and he rebelled at the church and rebelled at Nashville where he was making money and pretty much giving it away, and just very self-destructive behavior because of the inability. He understood he loved God to the degree you can love God relationally, but it gets obvious that you got to have three things. You got to love the world, you got to love God, and you got to love yourself. And if you leave yourself out of that equation because of psychological issues, you're always caught in a trap. And he was basically a tormented soul, and it was a pretty depressing movie, and I'm sort of watching it, and for me it raised the issue of love because his mentor, a guy who was an alcoholic and eventually died from it, was named, it was a Catholic priest, I guess, that basically said the one thing Christianity is designed to teach is that God loves you. Which, if you really get what that means, makes you lovable by definition. And the reason I'm going on and on here is in the hour that we missed this morning, I wrote a bunch of haiku, and I'm going to do a haiku of the day that's in memorial to this guy because it's interesting. Christians tend to trip over the doctrine and dogma that is pretty much outmoded and outdated. So if you got an active mind and a sort of a creative heart, it's like a disaster area because you just don't have the right keys. You don't have the code. I know if this guy had ever run into Bill, me, or Jim Wilhelm, or you, that creative genius that he had would have lasted longer. But it's a perfect story for people to listen to, and I sort of said, why am I watching this? Other than they did give me a certain compassion for somebody who's stuck in their mind with a good heart and is really utterly self-destructive.
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, you're exactly... that sounds like exactly how it does go with so many people with that whole Christianity thing, and then being raised by, it's confusing because but see, I think non-duality does the same thing. They're not giving you the whole, neither of those are giving the wholeness. And what you said in the very beginning, there's three elements, and somehow Christianity is forgetting about the child, and somehow non-duality is forgetting about the child. And that's the child is the very fulcrum, or the very point of where everything connects. And then when you see it in the line of the child, it all makes sense. It all makes perfect sense. And you are free. And as you say, you know what loving yourself is then. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Of course you love yourself. I mean, it's just... and the problem is in the world, when you say that, people, like, they get so weird. Like, how can you say you love yourself? God, if the world found the child, if the world understood this new state of being, and that's what I loved about that paper you sent me. I mean, I didn't read the whole thing, and I'm not into anything. At this point in my life, I can't get into much that's intellectual or, I mean, I can talk, okay, but reading very intellectual stuff, about conceptual, as he calls it, and using all those non-duality terms, I can't read it. I just can't read it. But I did read the first 2 pages or 3 or whatever it was that included his description of that the ancient Chinaman's talking about what the child is. And I was so amazed, because that is the child. Exact.
Yeah, I think the problem that everybody has, or the hurdle to overcome, is misdefinition of the words that are being used. Because when you say self-love, it ultimately, if you start top down, there's only God, there's only the absolute. The only thing that love could express as would be love of self. And that's why they say God or the absolute is pure love or love of self. But that's with the capital S. But the mind grabs onto that and says, well, self-love isn't good because that's selfishness. And it's sort of like the dark side or the forces of negation grab onto those words and reverse them. And then we don't go to the very thing that can save us.
Exactly, yes, exactly, because we leave that, self-love, and even, it's even worse than that. We're supposed to be beating ourselves or hating ourselves, or we're all sinners if it's Christian, and if it's non-duality, we're supposed to get rid of our ego. And I'm just going, oh my gosh, what we have done, it's so bizarre. But you see, the beauty. And I love this because how to put it into clear words, I do not know. But the beauty is that it's neither of those. It's not a self-love in the sense of I'm so great. It's like you said. It's like a self-love because the whole self of me is the whole world of me. How could I not love me? I am the whole world. And yet, when you discover this third place, it transcends. It isn't the same world. It isn't the same world of duality or even the conceptual discussion of non-duality, which is, to me, it's just a conceptual discussion. I don't see anybody who actually lives out of in whatever they're calling non-duality. If they did, they wouldn't be talking about it the way they do, because it's not a big void. It's not an emptiness. It's not a selflessness. It's not without me. It's not without God. I mean, some guy wrote to me the other day, I mentioned the word God, and he says, God's just a concept. And I'm like, wow, have you not seen the beauty of who we are? It's so powerful and real and genuine. How could you not see God? I mean, I'm just astounded at how anyone could ever say there's not a God. To me, it's like, so you're in it, you're touching him, you're with him, and when you live this, I would have to say this mystical beauty of being this child, the gifts, the abundance, the wonders, the love that keeps getting poured on you. There's no question. There's absolutely no question once the child is found. That is what has finally and truly come to be the very essence of my whole life. And I'm living it. And I know I am. So there's not going to be a shying away from it. I'm not going to do it. This is so powerful and so real and so necessary that if I can do this, I have been preparing all my life to bring this. And I don't, if that sounds crazy, I don't care. I'm doing it anyway, and they can, lynch me or whatever, but I gotta go. I gotta be able somehow to announce this beauty of the rebirth of the child. And it is a rebirth because we all know who we were, what it felt like, that awareness, that state of mind, that state of being as a little kid, as a child, as a baby, as a young baby, as a child, even up until we were probably 6 or 7, maybe 8 or 9. Hard to say. It starts to kind of fade away as we get indoctrinated, and we be taught to use our conceptual, that separated sense stuff. But that's natural. It has to happen. We have to go out into the world and see who we are not, because it absolutely takes the third step. The third step is the synergy, the alchemy of the first view, the childlike, innocent, pure, but the child doesn't know he's got it, doesn't know he's living it, has no idea. And like that little page said, he has nothing to compare it with, which is a beautiful, clear way of saying that. He can't compare it with anything. That's who he is. That's who he's being. There's nothing else. When you find it again, then you being it, and there's nothing else, and that's very true, and it's back to that. But this time you have the divine perception and awareness of knowing what you found and what it is and how different it is from being that linear human thinking thinker. And you are no longer that, so you absolutely know, because everything is transformed. Your heart, your soul, the light in your eyes, the way you think, the softness of your being, the kindness of the world, everything changes. Even the world changes. It's, Bill talks about the meadow, and the meadow is the child. It's like the two are one. If you find the child, you find the meadow. It's a slight, it's an ever so slight little shift. You're still in the same world. Everything's the same, and yet nothing's the same. There's an abiding beauty here. There's an abiding. It's light. It's light, like holy light, but soft and gentle and kind, and you're always in touch with this ever-present peace, this ever-present love that just stays in your heart. You can't, it's almost like you can barely get upset. I mean, it's like, and yet, you know right from wrong, and you're watching the world, and you're going, oh, man, if only, they don't need to do that. I mean, it's so unnecessary. And yet, it is necessary. The heartbreak is necessary. The suffering is necessary. But not in the sense of it's been imposed upon us, but only in the sense that once you have had enough, maybe is how to say it, you truly repent, you truly give up, you truly